Okay, we will start the today's session. Okay, so in the last lecture, I have briefed you about what is thermodynamics, right? That is the thing which I briefed you in the last lecture. I have just only brief about the thermodynamics. Okay, what is there? Okay, so I'll just come back to those pages. So let us see. We will, right? Okay, we were here in the last lecture. I taught you about the what is heat. Okay, now what is left is what is work. Okay, so see, what is heat? The heat is basically the form of energy which transferred by virtue of a temperature difference. See, whenever there is a temperature difference, the heat will flow, and when there is no temperature difference, the heat will not flow. Okay, so that is basically heat. So see, if I need to define the heat is basically the form of energy. It's a form of energy. Heat is the form of energy which transfers by virtue of temperature difference. Okay, so heat, it is nothing but a form of energy. Okay, so if you talk about the energy, it can be either heat or it can be work. Okay, so when you call it as heat, okay, so when energy transferred by virtue of a temperature difference, it is called as heat. Then what is work? So all other energy interactions are termed as work. Okay, I'll just give you a simple example. I will just give you a simple example. Okay, let's consider. Okay, let's consider what is work. Okay, let us consider what is work. Okay, let's consider this piston cylinder arrangement. See, this is basically the cylinder. Okay, inside a cylinder we have this piston. This is basically the piston. Okay, this okay. Let me call this as a connecting rod. This is connecting rod. This is a crankshaft. Right? Okay, so this is a crankshaft. Okay. So see, inside a piston and cylinder, what we have some gases which are filled inside, right? We have some gases which are been filled inside, right? So when you heat these gases, what happens is the gases, the energy which has been available with the gases, it is get released. Okay, so when you heat the gases, what happens? The combustion occurs, and as a result of that, the energy will be released. And once the energy gets released, what happens is this piston gets shifted on the right hand side. Okay, so the gases will expand, right? So the gases will expand. I will just brief you. I will not go into the detail of that. So this is the initial position. After expansion, this will be the final position. Okay, so these are the gases which are present initially. When you heat these gases, the combustion occurs. As a result of that, the energy will be released, and as a result of that, okay, the expansion will occur. So what happens is, okay, this is the initial position of the piston. Now we are shifted to new position. Right? Now we shifted to new position. Okay, is that okay? Now we got shifted to new position. So what happens? The piston has got displaced through this distance. Try to understand. What is the displacement of the piston? It is this. Okay, this is the distance through which the piston has moved. Okay, so the gases which are present inside that are having certain force, that force they will exert on the face of the piston. Try to understand. The gases which are inside, they are having certain pressure P. That pressure P will act on the piston. As a result, what happens? The piston get displaced through distance dx. Okay, let's say it got displaced through distance dx. So when the force is causing displacement, it will give rise to work. Yes or no? Is that okay? Is it okay or not? See, if you just want, I will just draw a detailed diagram. I will draw. Okay. See, let's consider this. Okay, this is basically the piston. Let's consider this is a cylinder. Inside a cylinder, we have a piston. Okay, this is basically the connecting rod, and let this be a crankshaft. Okay, connecting rod and crankshaft. This is the initial position. Okay, it's the initial position. Okay, so let's consider that these gases which are present inside, they are having the pressure P. What is the
So your
pressure of the gas?
diagram is not visible.
Having pressure P. Okay, so if we need to determine
Hello.
what is the force, see what is the force exerted by this gas on the piston, right? So obviously the gas which is having pressure P, it will exert some force F on the piston. Okay, so if we need to determine what is the force exerted by the gas on the piston, it is force is given by pressure into area. Yes or no? Force is given by pressure into area. Okay, so if I just draw the 3D diagram for this one, okay, it becomes somewhat like this. So this is your piston. Okay, this is your cylinder. See, this is your cylinder. Try to understand. This is the cylinder. Inside a cylinder, what you have? This is a cylinder. Inside a cylinder, what we have? We have piston. Okay. So see, the gases which are present inside, they are at a pressure P. Okay, and they will exert the force. They will exert the force on this area of the piston. Obviously, area will be circular. Okay, so they will. Okay, so this. Try to understand. See, this is how it works. The gases which are at a pressure P will exert some force F on the area A. Is that okay? The gases which are at a pressure P will exert the force F on the area A. So how will calculate force? Force is given by pressure into area. Okay. So when they will exert some force, what happens when they exert the force? The piston will occupy the new position. Try to understand. So this is the new position of the piston. See, this is the new position which is shown by the dotted line. Okay. Okay, so this is the new position of the piston. This is the new position of the piston. Okay, so the piston got shifted now here. Okay, so the piston now got shifted here, right? Is that okay? When they exert the force, what happens? The piston is going to occupy the new position. So this is the new position. Okay, so what happened here? What happened here is, okay, this is a displacement that has been of the piston. Okay, so this is the initial position of the piston. This is the final position of the piston. Okay, so now when the force is causing some displacement, let me call this displacement as dx. When the force is causing some displacement, it will give rise to what? Work. Yes or no? When the force is causing some displacement, it is given to give rise to work. Okay, so that is called as work. Try to understand. That is called as work. So initially, whatever the heat that is been present inside, that heat it is utilized so as to run a piston. So, so the piston it converts that heat into work. Yes or no? Is that okay? Is it okay with this one?
Yes, sir.
Is it okay or not? See, heat is a different thing. Now, what we have inside is a heat, and when this heat is causing the displacement of the piston, that means from heat you are converting into work. When the heat it is causing the displacement of the piston, we are converting heat into work. So how will calculate work? Work it is nothing but a force into displacement. How will calculate force? Force it is nothing but pressure into area. You have circular area, circular cross-section area of the piston. Is that okay now? So that is called as work. Okay, so work it is nothing but when force is causing some displacement, it gives rise to work. Is that okay now? Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us take now the next point. Let us take the next point now. Okay. So now I will tell you what is the system. Okay. What is basically the thermodynamic system. Okay. What is thermodynamic system? It's very important. What is thermodynamic system? So see, thermodynamic system. See, I will explain you very shortly. See, instead of studying this entire paper, okay, what I will do, I will select only the small part of the paper. Okay, I'll just select this part of the paper. So I will call this as a system. Very simple. Instead of studying the entire paper, I will just study only the small part of the paper. Okay, and that I will call it as system. Okay, so system, it is nothing but a specified region. Out of this paper, I will study only this part. So this is a specified region. Or quantity of a matter. Okay, out of say instead of studying entire 1 kg, we will study only half kg. So it's also talk about the quantity. Okay, so it is a specified region or quantity of a matter that is chosen for thermodynamic study. So for this particular part of the paper, I will study the thermodynamic properties like pressure. I will see the volume. I will see the temperature. I will see the enthalpy. I will see the entropy. Okay. Is it okay or not? So for this particular system, I am going to study which properties? Thermodynamic properties like pressure, volume, temperature, enthalpy, entropy. These properties I will study. Okay, and those properties, these are nothing but called as thermodynamic properties. So instead of studying the entire paper, I will study only the small part of the paper. That means that I have specified. Okay, because see, if you just see this part of the paper, it is having same properties as like other part of the paper. Is that okay? Is it okay? Are you agree with what I'm telling? Are you agree? This part of the paper, it is having same properties as like the rest of the part of the paper, right? So there is no point in studying the entire part. What we'll do, we will just study the smallest part or the specified part, and that I will call it as system. Now see, if you just see this line which I have drawn, it is called as boundary. Okay, the line which I have drawn, it is called as boundary. Okay, because why it is called as a boundary? Because this line, it separates the system from rest of the part. Okay, and then what is the rest of the part? It is called as surrounding. Okay, it is called as surrounding. Okay, so whatever the part that you have chosen, it is called as a system. Okay, so the what you can say, the limits for the system, it's a boundary. Okay, and anything outside the system, it's a surrounding. And if you talk about the system plus surrounding, okay, if you club this system plus surrounding, okay, it is called as universe. System plus surrounding, it is called as universe. Okay, try to understand. If you assume yourself as a system, so everything except you, it's a surrounding, and you plus surrounding, obviously it has to be a universe, right? So this is the idea behind it. Is that okay? Is it okay with this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now I'll just move to the next point, that is called as a microscopic. Listen, you might feel that sir is explaining the theory. Okay, so in first chapter, okay, and particularly in the first section of the first chapter, initially there is some basic concept which are required to be cleared. Then only I can go ahead with the numerical. And as I told you in the last lecture, okay, out of 100%, okay, I will be focusing 70% on the numerical. Okay, so 70% of numerical here. So that we will solve. Okay, so let's move to the next point. That is called as macroscopic. Okay, macroscopic. Try to understand. Macroscopic approach. Macroscopic approach. See, MAC. Macroscopic approach. Macroscopic approach. See, what is macroscopic approach? Simple, I will give you an example. Okay, let's consider this vessel. Let's consider this vessel inside which, okay, you have some okay, fluid which is present. Okay, and if I ask you to measure the temperature, okay, if I ask you to measure the temperature, how will you measure? Okay, you will simply put a thermometer. Right? Let us call this as a thermometer. You will simply put a thermometer and you will measure the temperature, right? Is it okay? See, what you have one vessel, and in vessel you have certain fluid. Okay, and if I ask you to measure the temperature of the fluid, how will you do that? You will simply take one thermometer, you will insert the thermometer and you will measure the temperature. Okay, so that is called as macroscopic. Macroscopic. Okay, now I will tell you what is microscopic. Try to understand. Microscopic. Okay, now when you understand micro, okay, it is easy to understand macro. Okay, so let me explain what is microscopic. So in microscopic approach, what we'll be doing is we will have same. Okay, we will have a same vessel which is having some fluid inside. Okay, but what we will do here is, okay, we will split this. We will split the entire vessel into number of small compartments. Try to understand. We will split it into number of small compartments. Okay, and we will measure the temperature at every compartment. Try to understand. T1, T2, T3, T4, T5, T6, let's say T7, T8, T9, T10, T11, T12, like that. Okay, so what we'll do, we'll measure the temperature at every compartment, and for calculating the temperature we will take the average. So we'll take the average of T1 plus T2 plus, okay, dot up to Tn. Okay, what are the number of compartments you have, divide by number of compartments, right? Divide by number of compartments. Is it okay now? You understood? If I ask you what is the temperature, you will simply insert a thermometer, okay, and you will measure the temperature T. Okay, and here what we'll do, we will split it into number of small compartments. We will measure the temperature for every compartment, and then we will take the average, and that leads to the microscopic approach. Is that okay? Here what we have done is we have considered the entire system as a single system. Okay, and here we have split the system into number of small systems, right? So that is nothing but called as microscopic approach. Okay, so if you talk about the microscopic approach, it's the statistical approach. Microscopic, see, microscopic, it's somewhat related with the statistics. Okay, that is average. Statistical, okay, statistical approach. This is also known as statistical approach, right? And if you talk about the macroscopic, okay, macroscopic, it's a traditional approach. Okay, or you can call this as a classical approach. This is basically the classical approach, right? Okay, it's a traditional one, and this is the latest one. Okay, this is the latest one. Is it okay with this one? What is macroscopic and what is microscopic? Is there any doubt? Is it okay? Is it okay with this one? Let me know. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay, can I move to the next point?
Yes, sir.
See, all of you are supposed to respond. All of you are supposed to respond to it, what I'm asking. Right? Now next, let's see the types of the systems. Okay, the types of the system. What types of the system that you have, that we will see. Types of the system. So let's consider first. Let me start. I will start with the closed system. Okay, closed system. Okay, closed system. So this closed system, it is also known as non-flow. Okay, as it is closed, it is also known as non-flow system. Closed system or non-flow system. So just see, I will just explain you with the simple example. Okay, so let's consider this okay, cylinder. Okay, on which we have some. It is closed. The cylinder is closed. The cylinder is closed. You can see, and inside that we have some gas present. We have some gas present, right? Try to understand. We have some cylinder. That cylinder we have closed at the top. Okay, inside which we have some gas, right? Now what we will do here is we will just simply heat it. We will simply heat that. We'll be simply heating this gas. Okay, so when we will heat that gas, so what happens is, okay, so what will happen when you heat that gas? So that gas is going to expand. Okay, there will be combustion and there will be expansion, right? So what happens is, this is the new position what we got. Okay, so whatever the gases which are present inside, they will undergo an expansion, and as a result, you will be getting this new position. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? See, this is a gas which is present inside. When you heat with the help of burner, what happens? The gases will undergo the expansion. The gases will expand. The gases will expand. As a result, see, what do you mean by expansion? The volume will increase. And when the volume will increase, the piston will move upward, right? So this is the initial position and this is the final position. So this is nothing but the displacement of the piston. Okay, if you talk about this term, it is nothing but the displacement of the piston. Okay, that means what? When you supply the heat, try to understand. When you supply the heat, see, you are supplied what? You are supplied heat to the gas. So when you supply the heat, what happens? That heat get converted into work. Okay, when you supply the heat, due to that heat, the gases get okay, that means the volume gets okay. See, when you supply the heat, what happens? The gases which are present inside, they get expanded. As a result, their volume get increased, and as a result of that, the piston, obviously the gases will exert some force on the piston. So as a result, the piston will move. So when the piston will move, that means the work is produced, right? So heat get converted into work. Try to understand. Heat get converted into work. So see what happens. Heat get converted into work, right? But what happened with the mass? What happened with the mass? The mass is same. Yes or no? See, volume is changed. The mass, but mass has not changed. Volume is changed. Here volume was less. Here volume is high, right? Volume is more. Okay, try to understand. The mass is constant. Mass is constant. Okay, the mass is constant. So, but the volume may increase or decrease. Yes or no? Volume. Please see, when you supply increased, when you supply the heat, the volume get decreased, sorry, increase. Okay, when you remove the heat, the volume get decreased, right? So here you supply the heat, so what happens? The volume gets increased. But what is about the mass? Mass is same, because you are not allowing the mass to enter, you are not allowing the mass to leave. There is no inlet port, there is no outlet port. See, mass is not entering, mass is not leaving. Whatever the mass that is present inside a system, it is same, right? But what happened? The heat what you have supplied, it is get converted into work. Mass is same, but volume has increased. Okay. So see, what is a closed system? The closed system is a system, okay, where mass cannot enter or leave. See, closed system is a system where, I will write down, mass cannot enter or leave. Mass cannot enter or leave, but energy can enter or leave. Try to understand. But energy can enter or leave. That is called as closed system. See, mass is same. Mass is same. But what happened with the energy? The energy has entered in the form of heat, and it got leave in the form of work. Energy, it is entering in the form of heat, and energy is leaving in the form of work. That means there is an energy interaction. What is about mass? Mass is same. Mass is same, right? I will repeat. Mass is constant. It doesn't mean that volume is constant. Volume may increase or may it decrease depending upon the process. Yeah.
So we can say like this: energy in closed system, exchange of energies take place.
Yes, yes, exchange of energy take place, but exchange of mass does not take place. See, if I use such words like exchange, interactions, now you will not be in a position to understand it. That is the reason I'm using the simple words. It can enter or it can leave. So energy, it is entering in the form of heat and it is leaving in the form of work. So there is an energy interaction, there is an energy transfer. But what is about mass? Mass is constant because there is no inlet port, there is no outlet port. So mass is constant. So such sort of system, it is called as closed system, right? So now let us move to the second system, and it is called as open system. Open system. Open system, it is also known as flow system. Open system, it is also known as flow system. Try to understand. Now see, open system. What is open system or flow system? I will just simply give you the example. Okay, I will just simply give you the example. Let's consider. Okay, let's consider the vessel which is having some inlet port, which is having some outlet port. Okay, this is having inlet port, this is having outlet port, right? Or let this be inlet and let this be outlet. Okay, so from here what happens? The mass will enter. From this end, the mass will leave. Mass will leave. Okay, so mass is entering and mass is leaving. Let's consider this to be a boiler. Let's consider this to be a boiler. Okay, so you just enter the mass through this end. Okay, so water will enter through this end, water will leave through this end, right? So we have this boiler. Okay, this is a boiler through which the mass is entering. Mass means it's a simple water. If you want, I will just mention this as a water. Water is entering. Okay, so in the boiler, and what we'll do, we will heat this water. We will heat this water with the help of, let's say, burner. Simple example, I will tell you. I will not go into the detail. Okay, simple example. This water we will heat with the help of burner. So we will supply some heat. We will supply some heat. Heat we are supplying, right, with the help of burner. So what happens? What happens when you supply the heat in the boiler? The steam will be gets generated, right? Steam will be get generated, and steam will go out. Okay, through the outlet port. The steam will go out through the outlet port. So from this end, what will happen? The steam will come out. Right? So steam will come out, right? So water will enter. Okay, when you enter with the help of burner, what happens? The temperature of the water will increase, and when it reaches its saturation temperature or boiling point, the water gets converted into vapor that we used to call it as steam, and it will come out, okay, through its exhaust port or through outlet port, right? So mass is entering, mass is leaving. Similarly, energy is entering in the form of heat. It is also leaving in the form of heat. See, you have supplied the heat, okay, and it is also leaving in the form of heat. That means, see, what I need to say is, here is, the mass can enter or leave. Mass can enter or leave, and energy also can enter or leave. Okay, both are possible. Both mass and energy can enter or leave. Simple meaning. Mass as well as energy can enter or leave. Okay, mass is entering, mass is leaving. Energy, it is entering in the form of heat, it is leaving in the form of heat again, right? So that is called as open system. Is it okay? Is it okay? Is it okay with this one?
Okay.
Okay, so that is called as the open system. Okay, so closed system we have seen open system. Now try to understand. See, closed system, in closed system, what is constant? Mass is constant. So closed system, it is also known as control mass system. This is also known as control mass system. Okay, this system here mass is constant. So this is called as control mass system, right? If you see in the open system, mass is entering, mass is leaving. Here mass is not constant, but here what is constant? It's a volume is constant. Okay, so such sort of system it is also known as control volume system. Control volume system. Try to understand. Okay, this is one is, see here, mass is constant, but the volume is increased. Okay, so that's why it is called as control mass, because mass is constant. Here what happens? Mass is entering and leaving. That means mass flow rate is constant. Mass is not constant, mass flow rate is constant. And such sort of system it is called as control volume system. Okay, so see, this is called as open system. So open system it is also known as control volume system. Now let us go to the third point, and that is called as isolated system. That is called as isolated system. That is called as isolated system. Okay, simple meaning of isolated system is neither energy nor mass. Okay, neither energy nor mass can enter or leave the system. Neither energy nor mass can enter or leave the system. Simple example will be the thermos flask. All of you know the thermos flask. Okay, all of you know the thermos flask. All of you know what is thermos flask?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
where
sir.
we used to keep the
Yes,
tea,
sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
Simple example, it's an isolated system. Okay, now why it is called as isolated system? I will give you an example. See, what do? You just make a tea. You just make a tea and you measure the temperature of the tea. Okay, might be 100 degrees Celsius. That tea you put in a thermos flask. Okay, and you observe the temperature of the tea. Okay, after some time, okay, you will find that the temperature remains same, approximately same. So temperature is constant. Initially, when you put that tea in the thermos flask, the temperature was 100, and when you observe that temperature or when you check that temperature,
डायबिटीज वाला नहीं
so when you check
आलू
that
नहीं
temperature
खाए
after
मैंने
some time, you observe that again the temperature is same. That means what? There is no energy transfer. Okay, there is no energy transfer. That means there is no heat transfer. No heat is lost from the thermos flask outside. Okay, temperature is constant. That means what? No heat is lost from the thermos flask to outside. Okay, as well as what happened with the mass? Whatever amount of tea that is being present inside, you will get same amount of tea. Whether it get decreased or whether it increase. Let's say you put 1 liter of tea in a thermos flask. After some time, whether you're getting 2 liter or you're getting half liter, no. Is it okay? So that is the reason why it is called as isolated system. Because ideally it is assumed that the temperature at which we have put or we have just inserted the tea into the thermos flask, it is same as the temperature after some time. Try to understand. The temperature in the thermos flask does not change. The temperature in the thermos flask does not change. That is why it is called an isolated system. See, temperature doesn't change. That means what? There is no heat transfer. What is the meaning of no heat transfer? No energy transfer. As well as whatever the quantity of tea that is present inside, it is same, because the mass is not entering, mass is not leaving. That is the reason why it is called an isolated system. Is it okay? Is it okay with this one, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. See, let us move to the next point. Let us move now to the next point, and that is called as thermodynamic properties. Try to understand. Thermodynamic properties. Okay, what is called as thermodynamic properties? See, if I told you the temperature is 80 degrees Celsius, what do you understand from that? Whether it is hot or cold. Temperature is 80 degrees Celsius. That means what? Whether it is hot or cold. What do you understand? I told you that temperature of the water is 80 degrees Celsius. What does it mean? The water is hot or cold? Hot, right? So see, if I ask you that the temperature of the water is 10 degrees Celsius, that means it is cold. So see, such properties like temperature, pressure, they talks about the physical condition of the system. Try to understand. With the thermodynamic properties, we can determine the physical condition of the system. We can determine the physical condition. If you know the thermodynamic properties like pressure, volume, temperature, we'll be able to determine the physical condition like whether it is cold. Yeah. So such sort of properties like pressure, temperature, volume, they are called as properties, because from those terms you will be able to calculate the physical condition. Okay. Now see, the thermodynamic properties, they are of two types. First, it's intensive properties. First, it is called as intensive properties. First, it is intensive properties. Try to understand what is intensive. Intensive, as its name indicates, these properties are independent of mass. Try to understand. These properties are independent of mass. Okay, so if I give you the example for independent properties like pressure or temperature, pressure or temperature, that doesn't depend upon the mass. Simple. I will give you. Okay, let's say I have 1 liter of water. Let's say I have 1 liter of water. Okay, which is at 100 degrees Celsius. I have 1 liter of water at 100 degrees Celsius. Okay, now out of that 1 liter, okay, I remove, let's say half liter. Out of 1 liter, I remove half liter. And if I measure the temperature of that half liter, I will again get the same temperature, that is 100 degrees Celsius. Yes or no? Yes or no? Let me clear. I have 1 liter of water at 100 degrees Celsius. Out of that 1 liter, if I remove half liter and if I measure the temperature of half liter, obviously it is going to come as 100 degrees Celsius only. That means the temperature, it doesn't depend upon mass. Yes or no?
Yes.
Is it okay? Similarly, pressure. Similar talks about pressure. Okay, let's say, see, what is the pressure of atmosphere? It is 1.013 bar. Atmospheric pressure is 1.013 bar. This is the atmospheric pressure. Now, if you measure the atmospheric pressure, either in the free space, like on the playground, you measure the atmospheric pressure in the playground. Otherwise, you measure the atmospheric pressure in your room or in your home. It will remain same. It will remain same. So it will not depend upon mass. Is that okay? Atmospheric pressure, it's the pressure of atmosphere. So it will remain constant whether you check it on a playground or whether you check it in your room or in your home. It will remain same. So it is independent of mass. Is that okay? Properties, they are called as intensive properties are the properties. Intensive properties are the properties which are independent of mass. Now let me explain the second property. They're called as extensive properties. Extensive properties. Try to understand. Extensive properties. An extensive property, they depends on mass. They are dependent on mass. Dependent on mass. They are dependent on mass. Right? So see, if I give you the example of which are the properties which will depend upon mass. So first example will be the volume, because volume obviously will depend upon mass. See, volume will depend upon mass, right? Volume will depend upon mass. If I give you the formula for density, density is given by mass upon volume. So what is the formula for volume? Volume is given by mass upon density. Mass upon density. So you can see this volume will depend upon mass, right? Similarly, some of the properties like enthalpy, you might not be able to understand. What is enthalpy? Enthalpy we used to indicate by capital H or small h. That is called as enthalpy. Right? I will go into the detail in the next chapter, in this chapter. Right? Enthalpy. Similarly, there is one more term that is called entropy. Entropy. Try to just remember those words. Entropy. Entropy is indicated by capital S or small s. Okay, enthalpy. Right. Similarly, we have internal energy. Internal energy. Try to understand. Huh? Internal energy. I will explain each and every term in detail. Internal energy is indicated by capital U, or it is also known as small. Okay, internal energy. Right. So these are called as these properties. They depend upon mass. That's why they're called as extensive property. That's why they're called as extensive property, because all these property they depends upon mass. Right. So you just remember which are the properties which doesn't depend upon mass, like pressure and temperature, right? And what is about rest of the property? That depends upon mass only, like volume, enthalpy, entropy, internal energy. They will depends upon mass, right? Okay. Now see, there is one more term. Okay, if I just brief you, okay, there is one more term. Okay, that is called as a specific. Try to understand. See, volume. I will just explain you. Volume, it is indicated by capital V. Volume, it is indicated by capital V, for which we have the unit as a meter. Try to understand. Unit for the volume is meter cube. Unit for the volume is meter cube. Okay. Similarly, enthalpy. I will go into the detail. Enthalpy, it is indicated by capital H, for which we have the unit of kilojoule. Kilojoule. Try to understand. Might be kilojoule or joule. Anything we have. Let's go to entropy. Entropy. Okay. Entropy, it is indicated by capital S. Entropy, it is indicated by capital S, for which we have the unit of kilojoule per Kelvin. Kilojoule per Kelvin. Okay. And next go to internal energy. Internal energy. Okay. It is indicated by capital U, for which we have the unit of kilojoule. Internal energy, we have the unit of kilojoule. Okay. Now the point which I need to convey is, see, this is volume. This is volume. Now, if I need to calculate specific volume, okay, just I am adding one term before volume, that I will call it as specific. So if I need to calculate specific volume, try to understand. Specific volume, it is indicated by small v. See, this is small v I have written, small v. This is capital V, this is small v. Capital V is a volume, small v is a specific volume. Then how to calculate specific volume? It is specific volume, it is calculated as capital V by mass. Try to understand. Capital V by mass. What is capital V? It's a volume. Specific volume, okay, it is basically the ratio of volume by mass. So volume, we will have it in meter cube. Upon mass, we will have it in kg. Is that okay? Is that okay? Okay, so specific volume will be for 1 kg of mass. Specific volume will be for what? It is per kg, na? Meter cube per kg. Specific volume, it means what? It is for 1 kg of mass. Similarly, let's do for enthalpy. Let's do it for enthalpy. I will write down specific enthalpy. I will write down specific enthalpy. Specific enthalpy, obviously, I need to indicate it by small h. See, specific enthalpy, it is indicated by small h. Small h, it is given by capital H by mass. Try to understand. It is capital H by mass. Specific enthalpy, it's the ratio of enthalpy by mass. So enthalpy, what is the unit for enthalpy? It's kilojoule. Kilojoule divided by mass, it will be in kg. Yes or no? It will be in kg, right? Now let's go for entropy. I'll write down specific entropy. Specific entropy. Specific entropy I will indicate by small s. Small s I have written, small s. So it is given by capital S by mass. This is given by capital S by mass, right? So capital S, what is the unit for capital S? Okay, when you call it as specific, you need to divide by mass. Simple thing you call it as. When you call it as specific, you need to divide it by mass. That is kg. So unit for S is kilojoule per Kelvin, and unit for mass is kg. Okay, unit for mass is kg. So it's kilojoule per kg Kelvin, right? Now we will call it as specific internal energy. Let us do specific internal energy. That I will indicate by small u. Okay. So it is indicated by capital U by mass. What is the unit for capital U? Kilojoule. Divided by mass, it will be in kg. Yes or no? Is it okay? Have you understood the concept of specific? Let me know. Have you understood this concept of specific? Yes, sir. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So see, simple. Volume, enthalpy, entropy, internal energy, they are capital letters. If you want to make it specific, it's a small letters. And how to make it specific? Just divide it by mass. So when you divide by mass, that means in the denominator, you should have kg. Okay, what is the unit for mass? It's a kg. So volume is in meter cube and specific volume, it is in meter cube per kg. Enthalpy is in kilojoule. Specific enthalpy, it is in kilojoule per kg. Similarly for entropy, similarly for internal energy. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? Let me know. Is that okay? Is it okay with this one? Is it okay with this one?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me move now to the next point. Let me move to the next point. Okay. So let us now take. Okay. Let us now take the. Okay. What is called as path function. Try to understand. What is called as path function. Okay. So let us consider this PV diagram. Let us consider this P and V diagram. Try to understand. P is a pressure, V is a volume. P is a pressure, V is a volume. Let's say I am at location 1. Now from location 1, I need to move to location 2. See, I am at point number 1. That means I will have pressure P1, I will have volume V1. Try to understand. Here the pressure is P1. Okay. And when you bring it down, your volume is V1. So when you know the P1, you know the V1, you can plot the point number 1. Similarly, when you know P2, that is pressure at point number 2 and volume at point number 2, you can plot point number 2. Yes or no? See, for plotting point number 1 and 2, you should know the pressure and volume at every point. Okay. Is that okay? Is that okay or not? So see, what we'll do is today I think we will stop because this will again take more than 10 to 15 minutes it will take. Okay. So today we will stop in the session. Okay. And in the next session, okay, I will cover the point function and path function. Is that okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because it will take now more than that. It will take more time. Okay, so what I will do is now I will stop here, and in the next lecture we'll continue with the point function and path function. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so is it Okay, just a minute. So is it okay to everyone? Is there any doubt?
Yes, sir.
Still there, is there any doubt with this one? Let me know.
No, sir.
Still there is any doubt? What is taken in the today's lecture?
Sir.
Okay. So today we will stop, and in the next lecture we will continue with the point function and path function, right?